Come all to the Wisecrackers Ice Hockey Arena. We fire it bar down and sell yard, no matter what day it is. Hello, everyone. I am Alec Nava. Welcome along to this NHL segment of Let's Get Cracking. So tomorrow we have the Frozen Four in NCAA ice hockey, where we have some of the best prospects in the entire NHL going up against one another, going at it. Of course, we do not want to miss the excitement here in the NCAA landscape. 16 teams entered, 4 teams remain. Boston College, Boston University, Denver, and Michigan. All 4 of these being college hockey blue bloods with the talent to prove as such. Who will get out on top? We're going to take a breakdown of each one of these 4 teams heading into tomorrow, and we'll get this going, starting off with the Boston College Eagles. This is the consensus best team in the entire NCAA, proving themselves with that stud of a top 4 with Will Smith, Ryan Leonard, Carter Gauthier, and Gabe Perreault lighting this up on a daily basis. Whew, this team is fun to watch. Nobody's close in matching the amount of production BC is getting from their top players as a whole. Boston University has Macklin Celebrini on their end, and he's been the talk of college hockey. But Boston College is the team that dominates the stats. Smith, Leonard, Gauthier, and Perreault, they're all ranked 1st, 5th, 2nd, and 6th in the nation in points respectively, all of them. Gauthier, he leads with 37 goals among the nation, and Leonard is not that far behind with 31. They're all meshing well together, alongside Oscar Jelvik and Andre Gasol rounding out the top 2 lines. They've been on a tear all season long. If there's a defense that is facing any one of these guys using their speed and their playmaking abilities at their very best, well, all there is to say is that I'll have to send a prayer on the way to you for any defense that is facing them, either one of those 4, because they are deadly. Do remember that they were together on the U.S. gold medal winning team in the World Juniors for the United States. Yeah, they embraced the villain role and they've lived up to that. Boston University has the best high-end talent with Celebrini. It's no secret that Gauthier is a goal-scoring machine, even though he's not playing on the same line as his team's freshman all-stars. But Celebrini, on the other hand, we speak of freshmen. This is a 17-year-old phenom. While he doesn't have the all-star supporting cast like what the BC cast of characters do, but he's been an incredible talent in his rookie season. But even saying incredible may be an understatement as to such. He has the 2nd most goals in the nation behind Gauthier, and the 2nd most points behind Smith and tied with Gauthier. He's on a team where his next best forward is a defenseman in Lane Hudson, even though he has the likes of Luke Tuck and Tom Hollander on his team. While Hudson and Celebrini, they have been lethal thus far. Celebrini, this is a time where he needs to turn it up a notch in the Frozen Four. The Terriers, well, they have not seen much of Celebrini in the postseason thus far, with 1 goal outside of garbage time. They're hoping that he'll step it up this weekend in St. Paul. That is the site of the Frozen Four. We speak of power plays around. Well, these 2 are electric on the power play. We'll get to power plays later on because one of these 4 has the best power play in the nation by a landslide. So on the depth scoring, that is Denver. That defines the Pioneers. They have only 1 top 15 scorer on the roster, that being Jack Devine. But they still have the best scoring offense in the nation at 4.7 goals per game. Doing so by striking all their players any given time, taking advantage of the matchups at the bottom of other teams' depth charts, and keeping up pressure at all times. They have a cast of characters around on their depth. It includes Boston Buckberger and Sam Harris, who are 2 of the heroes of their last 2 close playoff games against the UMass Minutemen and Cornell Big Red. Those were 2-1 games. The first one went to double overtime, where it took a video review to get them past the Minutemen, with Tristan Brose scoring the winner. And those two, they're two of the toughest defenses that anyone has faced in the postseason this year. And they did so after relatively quiet seasons on offense. They have a lot of players under depth with 10 forwards who have scored at least 10 goals this season. More than BC, 7, Michigan 6, and BU 5. But now that we're on the topic of power plays, Michigan has by far, by and large, the best power play in the NCAA. When we speak of the offensive talents of BC and BU, Michigan is converting at a rate that is higher than that of last year's Edmonton Oilers. How good are they? 34.5% conversion rate on the man advantage this season. Whew, that is a lot, I'll tell you. They trailed both BC and BU trailed the Wolverines by over 4 percentage points overall. And mind you, the Wolverines, they were not supposed to be here at all. They were the first seed in their region, while BC, BU, and Denver were 1, 2, 3 overall in the Frozen Four tournament. Michigan was the 10th seed overall. None of the other Frozen Four teams were prone to commit penalties in the regular season. BC has found itself regressing a bit in the postseason. They were on a 3-game streak of committing 5-minute major penalties in the postseason against UMass, BU, and Michigan Tech, then committing 4 minor penalties against Quinnipiac in their last game, which is something to keep an eye on when BC faces Michigan. This is a deadly power play, especially given the amount of talent they lost in the last 2 years. Matty Beniers off to Seattle. Adam Fantilli off to Columbus. For example, those two, they were the faces of Michigan Wolverines hockey in the last 2 years. Not to mention Luke Hughes and Mackie Samoskevich took their talents to New Jersey and Florida respectively. This is simply to watch onwards. But penalty kills, Boston College can back that up. There's a lot been said about the power play and the speed, the playmaking, about their top lines. But their PK, very quietly, has been one of their biggest strengths. They are the best in the nation at killing penalties, 88.6% of the time having done so. None of the other Frozen Four teams are even the top 35. And that's a true emphasis and a masterful job from Greg Brown. He's a defensive mastermind who was behind the bench for Jerry York for years, bringing back that same level of intensity that displays itself most during the penalty kill. If you manage to catch Leonard Smith napping over somewhere at the ice, maybe even the middle, that results in a bad play that gets them over to the penalty box, you're still going to have it tough against this rock-solid brick wall. Speaking of brick walls, how about Jacob Fowler? He's been on a different level than any other goaltender. He may likely lose the Mike Richter Award to Kyle McClellan of Wisconsin, even though he's going to be a top 3 finalist, Fowler. But he's been absolutely been on the caliber of past winners. If any team's going to ride a hot goalie to a title game, it's BC. He has the numbers to back it up as well. Top 10 in save percentage and goals against average. None of the other goalies in the Frozen Four can even claim one of those stats, never mind both. And best overall defense can also go to them. Denver's not too far behind, but BC can certainly have the edge. You look at Eamon Powell and Drew Fortescue. This defense allowed just 2.2 goals per game on the season. Just over 28 shots as well, towards the top of the country. Both the Eagles and the Pioneers, they are similar on the stat line. They have great veteran defensemen. Denver has been playing well as well. So it's just a matter of who has the better goaltender, which goes down to BC. And the real best of the best defenses, speaking of them, they were eliminated earlier in the tournament, which is namely Cornell and Quinnipiac. Both of them in one-score games as well. Cornell to Denver and Quinnipiac to BC in overtime, 5-4. And the goaltender is not even close. Defensively, among the pairings, you look at Zeev Buium and Sean Behrens as the best defensive pair, if not one of the best defensive pairs. Well, I reversed that order, but never mind that. You get the point. But this has been a lethal defensive pairing for the Pioneers. Zeev Buium and Sean Behrens, they complement each other very well. Buium provides a critical offensive threat from the blue line. Behrens anchors the backbone of this Pioneers defense. They have the best plus-minus in the country. dominating long stretches of postseason games, which leads a defense that's held opponents just 1.5 goals per game in the Frozen Four tournament, or 1 goal per game in the Frozen Four tournament, 1.5 in the postseason. Barons, he won the award for NCHC Defensive Defenseman of the Year. Bullion was an unanimous selection for the NCHC All-Conference team, on the other hand. So it'll be tough for any forward, let alone any Hobie Baker candidate or not, going up against this defensive pairing. These two can make anyone's life a living hell. And that is that for our previews for each of these 4 teams. So who do we have here going to the Frozen Four National Championship, and who ends up winning it all? So let's start off with our first game. The Boston University Terriers and the Denver Pioneers. That game at 5 o'clock Eastern tomorrow, 2 o'clock Pacific at the same time zone, when you're counting 4 time zones, 4 o'clock Central to go with that. So BU and Denver is going to be close, in my opinion, but I think BU has the edge with their talent around the roster. Though Denver's going to push them defensively. That's how I feel it's going to go. They have the talent defensively on their end. Plus, with the play of Bullion and Barons on that defensive pairing and the depth that Denver has, which also accounts for Devine, Shea Bullion, Buckberger, and Harris. This is a good team, but BU has the high-end talent that can overcome any test that's thrown towards them, which I feel BU is going to come out on top. It's going to be a 1-goal game. I think somewhere along the lines of 3-2. I think it's a 3-2 type of game. I don't know overtime, but it's certainly a possibility. I think it's going to come down to the wire, but the high-end talent of Boston University is going to propel them to a victory. And the Celebrini show goes on to the national championship game. The second game, the Boston College Eagles and the Michigan Wolverines. So Michigan, they have the best power play in the league. It's no lie about that. And even though the talent drop-off is there, they still have good enough talent to keep themselves in games. In Rutger McGroarty, Gavin Brindley, Seamus Casey, Frank Nazer leading the way. This is a good team. I feel the ride is going to end here at the hands of the most talented team in the nation. Boston College is too good to lose in the national semifinal. I feel this is a team to beat for any team that's going up against them. They're a complete team with the best roster and perhaps the best defensive coach remaining of these 4 teams. Now that Quinnipiac got eliminated. But let's not sugarcoat this. The only team that can really beat Boston College is themselves. That's the only way you see Boston College losing, is that they run into their own problems and everything falls down for them. So that is it for the national semifinal. I see a BC versus BU national championship, like most else of the hockey world following college hockey. This is going to be a showdown for the ages. Celebrini versus the American Quartet from the World Juniors. That's going to be fun. And I feel it's going to be a close game, more or less along the lines, but I think BC, once again, they're the best team in the nation, and they'll back it up for many reasons all throughout. And I think BC is going to come out on top as the 2024 Frozen Four tournament champions of the NCAA Men's Ice Hockey Tournament. That's how I feel it's going to be. So, with this all in mind, we'll get you a quick update around for the playoff standings. Currently, in the Eastern Conference, we still have 6 of 8 teams already having clinched a playoff spot. 4 from the Atlantic, 2 for the Metro. The Boston Bruins, Florida Panthers, and Toronto Maple Leafs are all fighting for positioning in the Atlantic Division, with the Bruins having the lead in the Atlantic. Florida's not too far behind. They're down by 3 points. Toronto down by 6 on Boston. Toronto has 4 games left. Florida and Boston have 3 games left each. 107 to 104 to 101. Boston, Florida, Toronto. The Tampa Bay Lightning hold the first wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference with 95 points. They're basically getting locked into that position if Toronto gets a win on one area, or at least 2, considering that Tampa holds tiebreaker in regulation wins, 36 to 33. Should Boston and Florida tie, Florida holds tiebreaker on regulation wins, 40 to 35 at this current moment. So Boston will lose the first tiebreaker automatically. Second tiebreaker, they also lose on that facet. So Florida owns the tiebreaker outright. If these two were to go up against each other for the Atlantic Division lead or the title. So in the Metro Division, it's now a two-man race. So the Rangers have the lead 110-107. Each team has 3 games left with 42 regulation wins. But from here on out, I feel the Rangers, they're a well-rounded team. So are the Hurricanes, who have made a push trying to load up on their scoring prowess. Getting Jake Guentzel and their playmaker Evgeny Kuznetsov. The Rangers going with the sneaky way as opposed to going after the star talents from last year. It worked out in 2022 going the sneaky way and loading up by getting the key faces around and addressing the holes that you have on the roster. It's a good job on Chris Drury's part to possibly load up for another all-win push. Jack Roslovic, Alex Wenberg, and Wenberg fills a hole. Now they're without Phil Keto for the rest of the year. Plus, with the recent play of Igor Shesterkin, they're in good hands, but their Canes are testing them all and throughout. So the Bruins, well-rounded team, but the expectations are back for them. But they rebounded nicely after what happened in last year's playoffs. The Panthers, they're no longer the underdogs anymore. Expectations are upon them. And they're expected to make it deep. So are Toronto. Expected to make it deep with their high-end talent, plus with their others perhaps stepping up. That means Max Domi and Tyler Bertuzzi to help out Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, John Tavares, and Morgan Riley. Their core 5. Tampa, it seems that the Empire's fire is getting extinguished slowly, but they could still possibly pull off an upset or two. They're still capable of doing such. But I'm not sure among the talent behind their top 6. And how much does Andrei Vasilevsky have left in the tank? He's a good talent, but I'm not sure about how much he has left in the tank. As for the East, for the Metro 3rd seed and the East 2nd wild card, it comes down to the Red Wings, who are reeling down the stretch. I'm not sure about their chances. Playoffs are still within reach, but it's not looking good for them. Doesn't help that Dylan Larkin was out for several stretches. It is painful. The Penguins, where did they come from? They were on a tear as of late, and are now in this position courtesy of Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. Crosby especially is doing everything he can to get them to a playoff berth. 40 goals on the year. The third time his career has reached 40 goals. And all coming within 7 years apart. 2024, 2017, 2010. That is something, I must say. It's remarkable the play that he's been putting up. The Flyers have lost 8 straight, pretty much taking themselves out of the playoff conversation after having an 88% chance to clinch. They lost 9-3 to the Montreal Canadiens yesterday, and it looks like playoffs are getting out of reach with that streak alone. And things have gone downhill ever since Carter Hart was one of the 5 players in the Hockey Canada scandal. Was not good for Philadelphia, considering goaltending has took a downturn. .894 save percentage since January 23rd. Yikes for them. The Islanders, they're a confusing team. Currently, they're on a 5-game winning streak, but one game they'll look good. The next game, they'll look bad. This is a confusing team. And it feels like they're being built to be one of the most mid teams in the NHL. No matter how much talent they put, this is a defensively bad year for the Islanders. For a team that specializes on defense, this is not a good look for them on the defensive side. Ilya Sorokin had to bail them out on most nights, and even he can only do so much. And the Capitals, how are they in the playoff hunt? They have a minus 40 goal differential as of now. If anything, Alex Ovechkin has turned things around. He's now up to 30 goals on the year after starting with just 8 goals in his first 43 games. It's still, defense could really pay wonders for the Caps. We're sellers, mind you. They shipped off Kuznetsov to Carolina, and they're still in the playoff race. Same thing with the Penguins. They were sellers, trading away Jake Guentzel to the Hurricanes. But they got Michael Bunting returned. Sneakily a good ad. It's not the worst thing in the world. Central Division race between Dallas, Colorado, and Winnipeg. Basically, Dallas is going to all but clinch it sometime soon. The Stars having a well-balanced roster offensively, defensively, everything clicking for them. And it's nice of them to be at the top spot at this current moment. The only way they can lose out on the division race is if they lose out and Colorado wins out. If Dallas wins their next game or Colorado loses their next game, the Stars clinch the Central Division. 109 points. Colorado's 1-4. Winnipeg has 1-2. They're not out of it. They have 4 games left. They could still clinch it if both Dallas and Colorado lose out. And Winnipeg, they win out, or Colorado loses 2 of their last 3. Whether it be regulation or overtime, or one of their last 3. Considering that Colorado can go at the second spot at this point. Nathan MacKinnon, he is my pick for winning the Hart Trophy. I don't see how else he's going to lose this. But let's factor in the fact that Connor McDavid, he is one of the best talents in the NHL, but I feel voter fatigue is going to play a factor into not having McDavid be the Hart Trophy winner this time around. So, there's that. And speaking of McDavid, he and Leon Draisaitl and the rest of the Oilers, they just took down the Vegas Golden Knights today. They're up to 101 points on the season, 3 behind the Vancouver Canucks for first place in the Pacific Division. Vancouver has 104 points. Edmonton has a game in hand, 5 games left. Vancouver has 4 games left. The 2 face off against each other in this final stretch of the regular season. So keep an eye out on that. We'll get you updated here on the playoff races. These 2 being the first 2 of the Pacific Division to clinch. The Central has 4 teams clinching. The Blues' playoff hopes are slowly but steadily fading away, but there is a way they can make it in. They win out, and Vegas loses 1 of their last 3. They have already lost 1 game, that being against the Oilers. They are 1 point behind the Kings for third in the Pacific Division. They currently hold the second wild card. Nashville holds the first wild card. It's Nashville that's guaranteed a wild card spot. Whether it be the first or the second one, it's yet to be determined. But Vegas is not out of third place in the Pacific Division. The Kings, their goaltending is pretty much overachieving by this point. The Golden Knights, despite losing 3 straight, they're in a good position. They can still get to third place in the Pacific Division at their highest. The talent is coming back, and with them getting fully healthy at the right time, everything is clicking for them. Nashville, they're riding hot. Philip Forsberg, Jussi Saros, Roman Josi, Ryan O'Reilly leading the way. It's a team that could possibly pull off an upset or 2. If it goes that way, should they face the right team to pull off such thing. Vancouver, their offense lighting up at the right time. But my big concern about the Canucks is not with them not getting anyone at the trade deadline. It's with Thatcher Demko's health. Though the good news is that he is set to come back onto the ice soon enough. And should he suit up for that Oilers game, that could be the best possible news for the Canucks. The Oilers, they're still riding hot down for the final stretch of the season. So that's all for this episode of the NHL segment of Let's Get Crackin'. I'm Alec Nava. See you next week for the final week of the regular season, plus playoff previews. We'll come to that next. Peace.